The backgrounds of the characters from Alice in Borderland and their parallels to the universe of Alice in Wonderland are absolutely mind-blowing. The name of the drama already suggests that the show drew some inspiration from the 1865 fairy tale. The parallels between the tale and the series are very prominent when you look at the star of the show, Arisu, who's portrayed by the internationally adored Kento Yamazaki. Arisu very clearly represents Alice, as his name refers to the Japanese pronunciation of Alice. Not only do their names hint at the fact that they are each other's counterparts, their character traits and developments throughout their respective stories are also quite similar, which you can definitely notice if you watch the show carefully. Before Arisu ends up in the Borderland, he's seen as a lazy and unmotivated guy who plays games all day, but of course, this completely changes when he appears in Borderland. He randomly finds himself in this universe unlike he's ever seen before, similarly how Alice ends up in the strange rabbit hole. For both characters, the main objective is to find their way back home, but of course in Arisu's case, the journey is a little more morbid. Just like Alice meets her companions throughout her journey in the Wonderland, Arisu also forms a core group of friends which he tries to survive with until the end. At the end of their stories, both Alice and Arisu wake up and escape their doom, but while Alice remembers it all, we can't say the same for Arisu. As mentioned before, the two characters are also pretty similar when it comes to their personality traits. Alice is known to be loving, caring, and extremely clever. In the show, we can see that Arisu is the same in this aspect. His video game experience before the Borderland gave him great analytical insight, which was beneficial in the games. Not only was he very helpful when it came to winning the games, he also oftentimes made sure to put others before himself, showing that he is very caring of others. For example, think of the episode in which he and Usagi win a game for the little boy so his visa doesn't expire. Speaking of Usagi, she's clearly Arisu's closest friend in the drama, similar to how the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland is always with Alice. Throughout the show, Arisu and Usagi spend a lot of time together and seem to trust each other pretty quickly. While that's already a solid indicator that her character was inspired by the rabbit, the fact that Usagi means rabbit in English pretty much confirms it. In the Wonderland, the rabbit is known to always be in a hurry. Similarly, it seems like Usagi is always ready to play a game as soon as possible. While she's not necessarily the nervous type, her instinct of survival makes her want to progress through the games quickly. The rabbit is also unintentionally a guide for Alice to get through the Wonderland, which you can also see in the dynamic between Arisu and Usagi. Although Usagi is not immediately set on making it out of the Borderland, Arisu makes clear that he wants to get back to the real world with her, which makes Usagi his main motivation to make it out alive. Moving on, Chishia has to be one of the most well-written characters when it comes to the parallels between the two universes. His name already slightly hints at the fact that his Wonderland counterpart is the Cheshire Cat. Although appearance-wise they're complete opposites, their personality is the same. Chishia is known to be a mysterious, witty, and highly intelligent individual who can outsmart anyone with his cunning personality. In that sense, he quite literally resembles a sly cat, but especially the Cheshire Cat, who's known to be deceiving. Let's not forget that in the first season, Chishia was ready to throw others under the bus to achieve his own goals. While he had some development throughout the series, his original deceptiveness seems to be the root of his character. Chishia's smirk also resembles the cat's iconic grin, which is always shown when he's about to disappear. A character with a very creative origin is Kuina, who's most likely supposed to resemble Absalom, the caterpillar from the Wonderland. Even appearance-wise, the two characters are a match. Now, we're not saying that Kuina looks like a caterpillar, but her blue outfit and fake cigarette are symbolic for Absalom's character, who's blue and likes to smoke hookah. In Alice in Wonderland, Absalom goes through a transformation, becoming a beautiful butterfly in the end. The show writers of Alice in Borderland did a great job in using this as a symbol for Kuina's transition. Throughout the show, we learn that Kuina was born in the body of a boy and left her family to freely become who she truly is. We can also see a transition in her personality throughout the games when she goes from being a clubs player to switching to a spades player. Next up is An, someone who became very dear to Kuina in this season and who's thought to resemble the White Queen of Alice in Wonderland. She gets this title because of her characteristics and intelligence. In the real world, she's a forensics expert, which comes in handy in some of the games. In the first season of the show, she ends up as the highest ranking beach member and is the only one who's able to find the culprit during the witch hunt. An also confronts the last boss, who most likely operates under the orders of the Queen of Hearts. This is parallel to the White Queen's confrontation with the Jabberwock in Alice in Wonderland, who was also sent by the Queen of Hearts. The most obvious resemblance in the series is probably between Mita and the Queen of Hearts. At the end of the first season, she revealed herself as the Queen of Hearts and very disturbingly shows how excited she is to put the players through even more suffering. In Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts is one of the last playing card characters she meets on her journey home. Similarly, Mita is the last character character Arisu faces before the show ends. At the end of her story, Alice reaches this beautiful garden, which is her ticket home. This part of the plot also reflected in the final episode of the second season when Arisu and Usagi reach Mira's final game. In the fairy tale, the queen loves to play croquet with flamingos and hedgehogs. Although no animals were used in the Borderland, we did see that Mira desperately wanted to play a game of croquet. Another antagonist that seems to originate from the Alice in Wonderland universe is Hatter. The name already speaks for itself and suggests that there's a link between him and the Mad Hatter from the Wonderland. The creators of the show even decided to make the two characters match appearance-wise. The Mad Hatter is known to have a pretty bright color palette, especially when you think of his bright orange hair. This is reflected in Hatter's outfit, who was always seen wearing his orange and red beach outfit. The Mad Hatter is one of the lead members of the Mad Tea Party in Alice in Wonderland and is known to be quite rude to Alice. Similarly, Hatter is the leader at the beach and definitely doesn't give Arisu an easy time there. Speaking of the beach, Hatter's friendship with Aguni is the key giveaway that they're supposed to resemble the Mad Hatter and the March Hare who caused chaos and trouble at the tea party. As we just mentioned, Aguni's character originates from the March Hare, who's known to be a little unhinged. Let's just say that this was reflected well in the show. In the Borderland, the beach was supposed to be a rule-free zone, which was mainly focused on throwing wild parties. Aguni and the Hatter were the ones behind this chaos. Just like the March Hare watches the Mad Hatter slowly descend into madness during their tea parties, Aguni watches his friend completely lose his mind at the beach. Hatter's spiral of madness led to a break in their friendship and kind of created a shift in Aguni's character, as we've seen throughout the second season. During the beach arc of the show, Nidagi was introduced as Aguni's right hand, and ever since this introduction, he's been nothing but trouble for Arisu and his friends. Although the inspiration for his character might not be the clearest, there is enough evidence to believe that he was inspired by Jub Jub Bird from the Wonderland. In the tale, the bird is dangerous and Alice is supposed to watch out for him. Nidagi's unhinged behavior definitely matches the character of this bird. I mean, he went so far off the rails even Aguni was concerned during the beach arc. During the witch hunt, Nidagi completely loses his mind and doesn't stop harming innocent people even after the game has ended. During the second season, he remains a great obstacle for Arisu. Arisu's friends, Chota and Karube, also seem to be inspired by characters from the fairy tale. They're kind of a package deal and resemble the walrus and the carpenter. In this scenario, Chota is the carpenter, as this character is known to be a workaholic and very loyal to the walrus, following everything that he says. Karube, on the other hand, is much like the walrus, as he's oftentimes impulsive and even inconsiderate. In Alice in Wonderland, the two characters fight over a bunch of oysters, while in the show, their personalities make them clash during the games. In the end, Chota forces Karube to see the flaw in his ways during the hide-and-seek game, much like the carpenter tries to do in the Wonderland. Lastly, even the game masters in the show seem to be parallel to the creatures Alice meets on her journey in the Wonderland. Each time a character has an encounter with a game master, some sort of life lesson is learned. It becomes very clear that they symbolize certain criticism of our society. In Alice in Wonderland, it's the crazy lifestyle of Victorian elites that is criticized, but in Arisu's world, it's the man-made systems that are designed to benefit the elite that are condemned. That's all on the origins of the characters from Alice in Borderland. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and thank you for watching. Bye!